trafficking and the violence that's involved in that, and the human rights, that we refer to it as a sex industry. It's important to us to refer to it as a sex industry because there are so many people who profit off the exploitation of women and girls. It's not just, you know, the consumer, it's not just the pimp or the trafficker, it is businesses, whether it's a hotel, a cab, restaurants. There are so many people who profit off the exploitation and trafficking of women and girls. So we want to refer to it as an industry, because it is an industry. And another important thing about, you will never hear me say sex work or sex trade. First, trade implies, in my opinion, well, and many people in Manitoba, that trade implies that you're trading something of fair value. When you understand the power dynamic between what is going on between a trafficker and a woman and a survivor, that power dynamic, there is nothing fair about that at all. So there is nothing, you're trading nothing of fair value. The other thing is that it's not work. It's exploitive, it's violence against women, bottom line. And so those are other ways in which I believe that the sex industry, who is well financed, has brainwashed us to think that these are just two people minding their own business in a hotel room, exchanging a sex act for cash, and that's it, that's all. That's not the reality of working on this issue for 20 years and meeting thousands of survivors over the years. It is very violent, very exploitive, and there is nothing about work involved in that either. The sexual exploitation and sex trafficking, I will go into the continuum of what that is, but there is a difference between the two. Sexual exploitation, if you're a woman or a girl and there's nobody controlling you, but you are exchanging a sex act for something, whether it's a ride, money, drugs, alcohol, a place to stay, those types of things. So there's nobody forcing you, but you really have no choice. That's referred to as sexual exploitation. Sex trafficking, on the other hand, is all of those things, still the same, but somebody is making it happen. A trafficker or a pimp, which is the same thing, is making that happen. And so that is the difference. And so we have laws against sexual exploitation, and we have laws against sex trafficking. And so really the key difference between the two is that there is a third party involved, and that being the trafficker or the pimp, which is the same thing. Experiential women and girls and survivors, this is in Manitoba, this is what they want to be called. So when I will sometimes refer to women with lived experience, experiential women are survivors. They do not like to be referred to as victims, and I would tend to agree. These women are survivors of violence, and so that's what they would wish to be referred to. Again, Indigenous, we've switched from Aboriginal to Indigenous. I'm still getting used to it myself, so I think some of my slides are even say Aboriginal, but I mean Indigenous. Migrant, the Canadian Council for Refugees, who does remarkable work on the human trafficking of people coming in from other countries, have identified that they don't wish to be referred to as newcomers or immigrants. They want to be referred to as migrants. So when I say migrants, that's what I mean. Traffickers are the same thing as a pimp when I'm referring to sex trafficking. They are the ones that are behind the business part of sex trafficking. The demand and the buyers, this is, when it comes to sex trafficking, primarily men and boys sometimes, that's rare, that are buying women and girls for sex. And the important thing that I stress when I do these presentations is that because sex trafficking is solely motivated by the business principles of supply and demand, there will always be a supply of women as long as there is a demand of consumers insisting on having women and girls available to buy. So when we have a new generation of men and boys who don't buy women, then there will be no supply. And the supply is solely motivated by greed and money. And if they didn't have to keep up with the demand, they would find some other way to make money. And it wouldn't be women and girls. Offenders, on the other hand, and this is really important, that offenders in Manitoba, as we refer to them, is anybody who has bought to abuse a girl under the age of 18. Not a girl under the age of 16, but a girl under the age of 18. And we call them offenders. They are child abusers. They are not a John. You can't be a John if you just bought a 15-year-old. You're a child abuser. You can't be a pimp. You are a child abuser if you are controlling a girl 15, 16. Anybody under the age of 18, you are considered an offender. And so I do this short little exercise to show you the difference on how we, again, as a society, have been influenced by people on the outside saying that girls 15, 16, they can do whatever they want. And we tend to minimize their victimization. So